Hey man, this is Chris of PhoneCats, and I think this is called the old Boros Active War deck. I didn't even know that Boros was a lady. I hope it's a lady, because I think she's pretty. Kind of. Anyways, here's the Boros Active War deck. Let's get this going here. I paid to unlock this deck after I grinded to unlock Sky and Scale, so it was nice to get that instant gratification for only $1 compared to the cost of $3 to buying a pack. And yeah, so I'm not as familiar with this deck, but it isn't that interesting to me, to be honest. I don't even play it that much. The more I lose to it and start to see the advantages, the more I like to mess around with it. So yeah, here's my build right now, and let the rant begin. Multicolor, so I'm playing with all the land grabs I can, and it's kind of weird that it's only the 4 Terramorphic Expanses. That's the normal turn 1 play. As you do a little scrolling, it's either going to be that or one of your Boros recruits, which are pretty hot. 1 mana for a 1/1 with first strike. There's so much first strike and double strike in this deck that it becomes kind of a, I don't know, a nice niche or just a nice standby. Okay, I passed on the Assault Strobe right now, but it combos well with a lot of stuff in this deck. The double strike is cool. I don't know, it's just such a funky mechanic. But we'll keep this moving at a nice pace. Double strike, that Assault Strobe combos nicely with a Lightning Serpent. Trample and haste. See, right now I'm wondering, someone Magic God or Magic Judge, tell me the play-by-play. Let's say it turns 6 and I cast a Lightning Serpent for 5 mana. So that's a 4 plus the 2. That's a 6 trample haste. If I give it double strike and it attacks something, it deals the first strike damage and then it deals double strike damage. I just need to figure out how that trample mechanic works with double strike. Is that crazy OP? I remember hearing something about ball lightning back in the day with that. But yeah, let's keep this going. Lightning Serpent is really dope. I mean, X mana, it's a 2/1 trample haste, and then it comes out with that many counters. It's a crazy game ender, and if it combos with Assault Strobe, I might need to give this deck another go, just because I like quick kills like that. 2 arms! 2 mana, untap all creatures you control, draw a card. So it's a little bit of a deck thinning mechanic, and it can be like that surprise, I attacked you during my turn, but surprise, I'm going to untap all my dudes with first strike, or yeah, a lot of them have first strike, and then block and kill so many of your threats. It's a little bit of a combat trick, and this deck has a lot of combat tricks. I took them out though. Okay, Boros Guildmage is pretty appealing. 2 mana, 2/2, that's fine out the gate. And then you can pay 2 to give something haste, or pay 2 to give something first strike. And the more I mess around with this deck, the more appealing both of those attributes are. Right now, I'm not playing with one of the veteran armors, but they give you a lot. And yeah, let's keep this going with the 2 casting cost. Boros Swiftblade looks mediocre, but it's kind of a staple. And whenever I'm playing against him, he's oddly intimidating. 2 mana, 1/2, double strike. So it deals first strike damage, and then it hits again. So I don't know. If it was 2 mana for a 2/2 with first strike, I probably, I don't know. I think what would be better? 2 mana for a 2/2 with first strike? I think that would be a better card, but this is fine as is. The double strike 1/2 almost makes people underestimate it. But let's keep rolling. Lightning Helix. Alright, this is a lightning bolt, and whatever the healing salve was, or whatever that card was from a million years ago, put into 1 card. 1 red, 1 white. Deals 3 damage to target creature or player, and you gain 3 life. I'm not even going to get started how crazily that pairs with your like late game Bomb Liege. Balefire Liege is 5 mana for a 2/4, reds get +1, whites get +1, and whenever you cast a red spell, it deals 3 damage to target player. Whenever you cast a white spell, you gain 3 life. So if you got a Balefire Liege out, and you cast your Lightning Helix, it's going to deal 6 damage to them, you're going to gain 6 life, and that's a damage disparity of 12. That's insane. So let's say you were both at 10. That puts you up to what? 16, and it puts them down to 4? That's crazy. 16 to 4 is such a big gap from being even previously. I like it. I like it. It's great. Okay, here's some 3 casting cost stuff that I passed on. Banalish Veteran, 3 mana for a 2/2. When it attacks, it gets +1/+1. That seems meh. It was one of the first cards I phased out. I phased out Mentor the Meek too. It's okay. I mean, it's way better than that Banalish Veteran. 3 mana, 2/2. Whenever a creature comes into play under your control with power 2 or less, you can pay 1 if you do draw a card. So depending on how your deck is geared, it can just be one of those things to where late, mid-game, you're just popping out creatures and drawing cards in rapid succession. But I took them out. I don't know. Just seems kind of funky. You would draw cards or have the opportunity to off of a Recruit, Guild Mage, Swift Blade, Veteran Armorer, your Sky Knight Legionnaires, which I thought was a Phoenix. That's kind of weird. And that's it. No, and also off your Nobilis of... No, what is it? Your Balefire Liege. It's kind of a lot. But I don't know. Let's keep this going. Let's scroll through here. Okay, so there's not very much else that would allow you to draw cards off of it. Your Sunhome Enforcer... And that's it. So yeah, kind of funky. I mean, I don't like it. Okay, I'm playing with an Aggravated Assault, which is kind of akin to the Relentless Assault, which is in the Goblin decks. 3 mana for an enchantment, you can pay 5, untap all creatures you control, and they get an additional attack phase. You can only do this whenever you could activate a sorcery, but if you get this out every turn, if you have 5 mana untapped, you get an additional attack phase. And I don't even know. It doesn't even say that you can do this once, so you don't have to tap it or anything weird. Untap all creatures you control. After this main phase, there is an additional combat phase, followed by an additional main phase. So you could do this twice if you're getting to like turn 10, if you're in some crazy late game, which is just a tide turner. In a way, it's almost this deck's Time Warp. Kinda? No? Not really? That's fine. Okay, Fire at Will is one of your mechanic tricks or combat tricks. It's 3 mana and it deals 3 damage anyway between attacking or blocking creatures. So it's kind of funky that they have to be attacking or blocking. Actually, it's really funky because you can't even like attack and then do it. They have to already be declared as blockers, but it's a tide turner. If your opponent's attacking, that's when you can just light them up without even having to declare blockers on your end. Intimidation Bolt! Card's nice! Okay, 3 mana. Intimidation Bolt deals 3 damage to target creature. Other creatures can't attack this turn. See how it's almost like a fog? Like your opponent can't even attack? So if they just played some huge buff like Overrun or just whatever that pumped up all their creatures, bam, you can't attack this turn, and I just lit up one of your creatures for 3. It is very good. I'm playing with 2 of the Rally the Righteous, and I don't know. I like it, but I wouldn't play with all 4. I mean, it just seems you need to get the right balance of drawing creature cards and drawing your creature buffs. If you draw all buffs, it's going to be terrible, and if you draw all creatures, it's going to be mediocre. Here's what this one does. Radiance, untap target creature you control, and each other creature that shares a color with it, those creatures get +2/+0 until end of turn. So you declare your attack phase, you're attacking with 3 creatures, you play this, normally in response or pause, and then play it while your creatures are declaring their attack phase. So they all untap as long as you cast this on a gold creature, so your reds and whites both untap. And then those creatures get +2/+0, so you're attacking with 3 creatures, you just spent 3 mana to deal an extra 6 damage, which is a nice return. I mean, late game, if you're playing with all 4, you might have a turn 6 and play 2 of these. And that's pretty solid. I mean, let's say you had 4 creatures out, and you played 2 of these. Each one of your creatures gets +2/+0 twice, so that's +4/+0. and it happens on all your creatures. God, that's plus 16 damage. I don't know. Kind of weird. Right now I phased some of those out because, man, I played a game against someone and they got a Scourge of the Nobilis on something with first strike. And it really messed me up. Enchant creature for 3 mana. As long as enchanted creature is red, it gets +1/+1 and gets fire breathing for red or white mana. As long as the creature is white, it gets +1/+1 and has a lifelink. So they definitely casted it on, I think it was one of these dudes right here. I think it was a Boros Swiftblade, but even a Guild Mage would be fine. Or even a Recruit would be fine, because those are all red and white. Oops, did I skip over some cards? It looks like I did. We'll touch on the Hobgoblins in a second. So yeah, so their creature ahead. God. Okay, once again, I need to figure out the mechanics. Double strike and lifelink. Does that work out the way I think it would, to where it gains life twice? So let's say you attack with that dude that has double strike. And turn 2, double strike dude. Turn 3, Scourge of Nobilis. Turn 4, you attack. So he was a 1/2. And then +1/+1. And then +1/+1. So that puts him up to a 3/4 with lifelink and fire breathing. So you're attacking with a 3/4, and then you spend all 4 of your mana to turn him into a 7/4 with lifelink and double strike. I mean, isn't that ridiculous? I think that's ridiculous. Someone tell me I'm wrong, or tell me that I'm thinking that's like too good to be true. Okay, yeah, so I was going to back up here right quick. Yeah, I skipped a lot of stuff. Okay, Rise of the Hobgoblins. Kind of cool late game. 2 mana and then you pay X. So let's say it's turn 6 and you tap out. You just made 4 1/1 red and white goblin tokens, and then you can pay 1 red or white, and then red and white creatures gain first strike until end of turn. It's a cool little mechanic. It's a cool little card to top deck in kind of the end game. I'm playing with them both right now. I'm playing with these veteran armors, and I might phase them out. I don't really know what else I would put in, because I don't know. I just feel like I need more creatures in this deck. 2 mana for a 2/2, and other creatures you control get +0/+1. It may not seem like much, but every time that I'm playing someone and they have one of those in play, it just really throws a monkey wrench in things. Just giving all your creatures that extra 1 toughness seems to have like a massive effect. And you're going to see how like the rest of the cards in this deck from here on out just pump up your creatures. Okay. I'm playing with 3 out of the 4 Sky Knight Legionnaires. 3 mana for a 2/2, flying, haste. Cool art. I've never actually looked at it this much. I wish I had pinched to zoom if you get all nitty gritty. But 3 mana for a 2/2, flying, haste, it's pretty well rounded. Like, I think that's a fine card. Bright Flame. This is pretty much the card's removal, and it's kind of late game geared. You can play with 2 of these, and Bright Flame deals X damage to target creature or player. To target creature and each other creature that shares a color with it. You gain life equal to the damage lost in this way. Okay, there's some of this deck where you just can get this weird life gain mechanic going, but I guess that makes sense as it's red and white and you're going to be dealing damage and gaining life. But you're gaining a little bit of life off your lightning helixes. You're gaining a little bit of life off your Scourge of the Nobilis if you get that lifelink going. And the Bright Flame. Here we go. Let's say it's turn 6. That's realistic. You tap out and then light up one of your opponent's golds for 2 damage, and then all their side of the board takes 2 damage. As long as it's the same color, but which is pretty common. So I almost view this as like some funky Massacre Worm, because it's 6 mana, lights up the 2s, cast it on turn 7, you light up them for 3. And then instead of dealing damage to them like Massacre Worm does, you're going to gain some life. So it can be kind of a tide turner. Okay, Flamekin Zealot, 4 mana, 2/2. When it comes into play, creatures you control get +1/+1 and haste. And that goes for him too. So it's 4 mana for a 3/3 with haste and gives all your other dudes a boost. Really cool. I've played against this a lot, and it sucks to play against because you can't kill it like in response. Once it enters play, this effect is going to happen. So it's nice. It's just a nice turn 4 drop. And just works out well. I'm playing with the Glories of Warfare, and then on your turn, creatures you control get +2/+0, and then when it's not your turn, creatures you control get +0/+2. It's just a nice little buff that works out pretty well, and seems to be a nice mechanic. The more I look, the more I feel like I should be playing with that card that gives your stuff double strike, because you're pumping up your dude so much that double strike's going to be some quick damage. Breath of Fury is a card that I've tried to play with, but I can't get it to work out properly. It's 4 mana, enchant creature you control. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you sacrifice it and put Breath of Fury on a new creature. When you do that, you untap all creatures you control, and after this attack phase, there is an additional combat phase. So it's really akin to the Aggravated Assault, or whatever the assault spell was that am I playing with it? Oh, I don't really like playing with that. Whatever. I still can't get this deck done right. I can't find my proper play style. So it's weird. Let's say you cast this on your Sky Knight Legionnaire, you attack, and then you have to sacrifice it, and then you put this on something else and you get another attack phase. It's kind of a weird trade-off, and I don't know, I just couldn't make it work. I might end up putting these Breath of Lives back in. It's basically a reanimate, like you return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So if you do it with something that's hasty, that's cool, and then kind of like a surprise threat, or just negates some of your opponent's removal as it comes right back into play. Kind of nice if you do it on something that has some enter the battlefield effects, which aren't too many. Your Flamekin Zealot, but yeah. You can play with another Bright Flame. One seemed fine since it's kind of a high casting cost to have any effect. And you can play with a Faith's Fetters. 4 mana, enchant permanent. Enchanted permanent's activated abilities can't be activated. If it's a creature, it can't attack or block. And when this comes into play, you gain 4 life. So this is like the only control in the deck. Kind of cool that you can do it on someone's Panoptic Mirror or whatever clutch card it is they have, because its activated abilities can't be activated. Unless they're mana abilities, so it kind of prevents you from playing it on a land, but I almost wish they would let you play it on a land too, just for the option. I'll probably end up throwing those in. I'll do some tweaking after I'm done with this vid. We'll do it live tweaking, how exciting. Spitemare's dope. It reminds me of the, can't even think of the card. The black card that everyone loves. I can't think of it. 4 mana for a 3/3. Whenever Spitemare is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target creature or player. So legit. So if your opponent has some fatty, like Lord of Extinction or just some massive creature, and you play this, it's going to be a chump block threat because they don't want to attack because they know they're going to take crazy damage. And when you attack with it, they're going to be reluctant to ever block. Because even if they block, it's going to end up possibly dealing even more damage to them. Cool card, cool art, and it really makes your opponent think and kind of gets them in a nitty-gritty situation. My god, I couldn't even wait till we got to 5 mana to talk about this Balefire Liege. 5 mana, 2/4. Reds and whites each get +1/+1, and every time that you cast a red spell, deals 3 damage. Whenever you cast a white spell, gain 3 life. It becomes problematic. I know why they give you 1 of these in the deck. Can you imagine having 2 of these out, and then every time that you cast a gold spell, you deal 6 and gain 6? It would be so OP. It's really nice. It's just one of the couple cards in this deck that you play and then attack, and all your creatures have a quick buff. That also goes for the Nobilis of War. 5 mana for a 3/4 flyer. I think one of the few flyers in this deck. And attacking creatures you control get +2/+0. So turn 5, this can almost be a game sealer as you attack and get a buff on all your dudes. It's really nice. I'm playing with Sunblast Angel, and it's one of the few wipes in this deck, along with my Bright Flame. 6 mana, 4/5. When Sunblast Angel enters the battlefield, destroy all tapped creatures. So obviously you're going to want to do some brainy mechanics, like obviously don't attack before you play this, herp derp. And you want to play this after your opponent did some big attack thing. So maybe on your turn 5, you want to do some like mock aggression or just aggression and tap out with all your creatures and attack so that your opponent will do like their version of a death strike and hit you back. It's nice. It'll make people rage quit. Here's some stuff that I'm not playing with. 4 mana for a 2/4, the Sunhome Enforcer. When it deals combat damage, you gain that much life. I guess they didn't just call it lifelink because it has to be combat damage, which means between creatures, if I'm not mistaken. Otherwise, it just would say lifelink, right? Right? And it has some pathetic version of fire breathing, so if you have nothing better to do, you can pump it up in a weird way. It just seems mediocre. Let's see. I can't believe I pulled out this dude. Argris Kos Wajek Veteran. What a weird ass name. 5 mana for a 3/3. When it attacks, attacking red creatures get +2/+0, and attacking white creatures get +0/+2. So all your gold stuff's gonna get +2/+2. And it almost seems like removal bait. I'll probably end up throwing this in for better cards. But yeah, let me finish this vid and then I'm gonna do some live tweaks. Okay, here's another legendary angel. It's 5 mana for a 4/4. Flying. Players can't cast spells during combat. Kind of weird, because you do have some stuff that affects combat. Like, this deck is all about combat tricks. And you can play 1 red, target creature attacks this turn if able. So during your opponent's turn, you can make them attack with whatever their power creature is, especially some kind of spellcaster, and then just chump block it. That's kind of nice, but it's kind of weird at the same time. Okay, depending on your meta, this card can be kind of hot. Light Wielder Paladin, 5 mana for a 4/4 with first strike. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, and that already has me thinking, I mean, it says combat damage to a player, so that's weird. And Fog prevents all combat damage, so what am I even talking about? Why doesn't that say first strike? Whatever, someone talk to me and explain that. We're still talking about this. Okay, Light Wielder Paladin, 5 mana for a 4/4. Whenever it deals combat damage, you exile target black or red permanent that player controls. If this had pro black and pro red, I would be playing with it just to mess with goblins and Liliana. But it's not like that. It's situational. 5 mana 4/4. I don't know. I'm not playing with it. Right now I'm not playing with these Bull Ceradons either, and they're kind of cool. It's 6 mana for a 5/5, so on turn 6, bam, you play this. Hopefully last turn you played a Balefire Liege or Nobilis of War, something that would buff this dude. So turn 6, you play it, has Vigilance and Haste. So turn 6, instant attack, and then you're still able to block with it. Pretty cool. They give you the option of playing with 3, which is kind of a lot. Onward. Firemane Angel. Firemane? It's 6 mana for a 4/3. Flying, first strike. At the beginning of your upkeep, if this angel is in the graveyard or on the battlefield, you may gain 1 life. So this weird passive life gain mechanic. And then you can pay 1,000,000 mana. It's actually 7. Return the angel from the graveyard to the battlefield. And you can only do that during your upkeep, which is kind of odd. Here's some Pseudo Control, Hammerfist Giant, 6 mana for a 5/4. You tap it and it deals 4 damage to each creature without flying in each player. Weird to me. He kills himself. It requires him to tap. It's just weird. I mean, if I was playing with it, I would let my opponent go and make it be their turn, and then chump block and then do it. But yeah, it just seems odd. Here's a cool dragon. 7 mana for 6/6. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, it deals that much damage to each creature that player controls. So it hits them for 6, and then it lights up their side of the board for 6. Kind of wipey, kind of cool. And then here is Storm Herd. It puts a whole bunch of Pegasus into play, which is pretty neat. 10 mana though, too much for my blood. 10 mana, put X 1/1 white Pegasus creatures into play, and they all have flying, where X is your life total. So with all the life gain in this deck, turn 10, let's say you're at 25, you just put 25 Pegasi into play. Kind of OP. It might be fun to play with just to mess around, but yeah, it's not in my deck. And now for some live tweaking, since I just refreshed myself on all these cards. Oh, let's throw that in. It's so good. So I want that Faith Fetters? No. Oh, I got so many 3-drops. That's fine as is. I really want to take out the Veteran Armors. They just seem meh. I don't even know. I can't do it. I can't commit. I feel like I don't want too many combat tricks in this deck, and that's what I'm really afraid of. We'll try this as I just kind of gear towards a late game build. And we'll pop out a Veteran Armor and that Assault. And we'll see how this plays for a while. Good compromise. Thanks for watching, Phone Cats.